All right, when you buy a brand new scan station today, you're going to get 2 CDs that come with the actual documentation, and that one CD is a remote scanner administrator CD, as well as just the user's configuration organizer. When you load KODAK remote scanner administrative software, you're going to get this little icon that comes on the desktop. And when you double-click it, that's going to open up the remote scanner administration tool. You can actually add or delete scanners that are out on the network, or prepare to add scanners that will be on the network at a later time. So in this scenario, I don't have any scanners connected to my PC, so therefore I'm going to set up scanners that would be later on connected to the network. All I need to know is either the scanner's name or the scanner's IP address, or both. So the first thing I want to do is I want to click on the little plus sign, which is to add a new scanner. From here, I type in the scanner's name and its IP address. Every scanner comes out of the factory with a unique name, and all of the IP addresses are set to DHCP. So I don't have a static IP address unless I'm going to set the scanner up myself. So in this scenario, I'm going to put in the scanner name. So I would go to the actual scanner, turn it on, hit the little information button, and write down what the scanner name is, as well as, if I want, I can set the IP address right there on the scanner. At this point, too, I could also add a password to it, which means that from now on, if I wanted to change anything on that scan station, it would have to have a password. So for this scenario, I'm not going to set a password. If I had hundreds of scan stations out there on my network, I could also put in a group. From here, I'm going to then click on Add. And when I click on Add, it's actually going to go out over the network and try to find this scanner. Now, because I don't physically have this scanner connected, it's going to come back and tell me that it was unable to communicate with it. Now, if I actually had the scanner out there, it would come back and say, yep, I found the scanner, and it's going to ask me if I want to add it. So even if it can't find it, it's going to ask me if I want to add it, so that when the scanner is eventually connected onto the network, the scanner administration tool will actually be able to communicate with it. So here, it wasn't able to communicate with it, and it's giving me that choice, do you want to add it? And I'm going to say yes. So I can do this for as many scanners as I'm going to hook up onto the scan station. So if I wanted to do it again, now as you notice, the status here is that because it couldn't find it, there is no status. Now, if it was found, it would give me an active, and then let's say it was disconnected from the network, it then would give me a not found status. And because it couldn't find it, there's no MAC address. It would actually go in and read the MAC address as well. Okay? From here, I can click on either one of these, and I would be able to get the information out of it. If I clicked on this I, it would come back and give me all the information of what version of software was running. But because I don't have any information, or I physically can't connect to it, that's going to be blank. Okay? I also can delete the scanner. Let's say that I moved the scanner somewhere else and I don't want it, or I'm getting rid of it out of that department. I can actually physically delete it. The other thing I can do is, let's say I had multiple network locations and I wanted different. I could save this file to. Let's just put in. So let's say I have a different location. So let's say I have these at KODAK Manitou. So I'd say KM, and I'm going to throw it on my desktop. Okay. So now, if I was to close this out and come back in, see how there's no scanners there? I go to File, Open, look for that file, and then it comes back. So let's say I had multiple configurations that I wanted to deal with. So if I had like different locations or multiple scanners and I wanted different things for each one of them, I could set up different files for the scanner administration. So once I'm here, I can then access what's considered, or what's called, the configuration organizer. And this configuration organizer has not changed from our previous scan stations. And this is what sets up how to scan. So you can set up what DPI you're going to scan at, if you're going to scan color, JPEG, the resolution, that kind of stuff. Once you get that set up and save that file, you can then actually send that file to your scan station, and you can send it to all of your scan stations. So this is why you may have different files. You may have different XML files for your remote scanner administration, is that you may have different scans configuration files that you're going to be sending to each location. So if I could communicate with these scanners, I could actually take this file that I just made. If I make a configuration file, I can then take that file and upload it to all my scan stations that are on the network. Whereas before, you had to either do it via a thumb drive, you have to physically take a flash drive and go to the scan station with the configuration file on it, plug it into the scan station, or I would have to put it in a Dropbox on the network that the scan stations remotely would look in and update it. So here I can actually push that configuration right to the scan station remotely from this desktop. The other thing I can do is I can actually grab an XML file that I created and send it to a scan station. So for example, if I created an XML file for these two scanners, for the specific configuration file for these two scanners, and I have a new scanner that I just got in that's going to use this same configuration, I can click on this scanner, grab its configuration file, bring it over, and then click on the new scanner and send that same file over. And therefore, I don't have to create a whole nother XML file for it. Okay? The other thing that we can do is we can actually get the transaction logs directly from the scan station using this application. Before, again, you would have to go to the scanner with a thumb drive, put the thumb drive in it, and access and copy the logs onto that thumb drive. Here, I can actually grab it, and it'll go out to that scan station and retrieve the logs and send them to me. Unfortunately, I can't communicate to it, so I'm going to get a communication error. I'll wait for that to time out. Again, so I can get the transaction logs, I can get the log files, same exact thing. If I want to get an update on the status, so let's say we have different statuses, and I opened up the documentation so that you can see what exactly are the statuses. Here we go. The scanners are idle, so it's currently active and it's on the network. It's busy, which means the scan station is actually physically scanning. It's updating, so if you're sending a configuration file or firmware to it or a new update to it, it's going to tell you that it's being updated right now. Rebooting, powering down, or it's physically not found. So if you power it down and then you do a status, you're going to find that it's physically not going to be there, and it'll tell you that it's not found. The other thing that you can actually do is not only can you send configuration file to it, you can actually send new updated software or updated firmware to it. So instead of having to, again, the old way, putting the new software onto a thumb drive and bringing it over to the scan station and physically doing it at the scan station, we can actually do it all from this remote scanner administration tool. And if I click on the scanner, and this is basically just editing, so I can modify it. So if I really wanted, so as you notice, I said KSS 500 KM002. I should have been consistent with that. After I've opened it, I can change it. Or if I've moved it into sales, so marketing really didn't need it, and sales needed two of them, I can change it. Okay, I can change IP address and say that I no longer want it to be DHCP, I want it to be static, and then I can update. And it'll go out and send that information to the scanner if it can find it, but of course I don't have one. But when the scanner is on the network, it'll actually go out and talk to it and be found. And that is pretty much everything that the remote scanner administration does.
So you get this now with a new ScanStation 500. If you have an existing ScanStation 500, go to the support tab on the website to find out how to get this documentation and software.
That's correct. The documentation and the software come on a CD that you can order through Part Services and give them the information required, which is your name, your company name, and the scanner's K number or serial number, which is the same thing. And they will then send that out to you for free.
Super.
And that's it.